They whispered over comms, targets at 3,000 meters. Nobody expected an answer. Nobody thought anyone could take that shot. But from a silent ridge cloaked in Afghan fog, Chief Petty Officer Sable Winters was already adjusting her scope. Her gloved hands steady, her breathing slow. She wasn't just calculating distance. She was solving an equation written in smoke, wind, and seconds. And when the shot broke, it didn't just save a SEAL team. It rewrote everything her unit thought they knew about limits. Before we begin, wherever you're watching from, soldier, veteran, or civilian, make sure you subscribe to Truth Untwists, where hidden courage meets impossible odds. Sable Winters wasn't supposed to be a legend. Born in northern Montana, she was raised on silence, snowfields for classrooms, a hunting rifle for a tutor. Her father, a retired Marine, taught her that patience wasn't about waiting, it was about timing. Her mother taught her numbers, wind charts, constellations, the math of the world itself. By the time she enlisted, Sable didn't just see the battlefield. She read it like a formula. At first, the Navy didn't know what to do with her. Too quiet, too methodical, too unwilling to boast. Her fellow trainees called her Ghost, because even when she was standing right there, you could forget she existed. That changed the day her instructors took her to the range. The target, a steel plate at 1,200 meters. No one had hit it all week. Sable adjusted once, exhaled, and hit the center with her first round. Then she did it again, and again, until the instructor walked over and said quietly, "You're not shooting. You're studying the wind." From that day, Ghost became something else entirely, a call sign spoken with respect. By 2012, she was the Navy's top precision marksman, attached to SEAL Team 7 as Overwatch in Afghanistan's northeastern valleys, where ridges swallowed entire platoons and fog rolled like the tide. It was supposed to be a short operation, a reconnaissance mission in Kunar province. Locate insurgent weapons caches, confirm coordinates, and return. But in war, short missions never stay that way. At 0530 hours, SEAL Team 7 began their patrol along a narrow river corridor. Visibility, less than 50 meters. The fog was so dense it clung to their gear. Every sound carried wrong, echoing off the cliffs in strange directions. Sable and her spotter, Petty Officer Blake Rios, had set up Overwatch 2,900 meters away on a high ridge, their Barrett Murad sniper rifle mounted and calibrated. Through her Schmidt and Bender scope, she could barely make out the shapes below, blurred heat signatures moving in and out of thermal range. She whispered, "Wind, 5 knots, shifting northwest." Rios checked the Kestrel meter, nodding. "Barrel pressure stable. We're clear for shot if needed." Sable exhaled slowly. Something felt wrong. The valley was too quiet. Then it happened. A sudden burst of gunfire tore through the fog below. Echoes crashed through the canyons, followed by shouting, and then the radio crackled to life. "Contact!" Multiple tangos were boxed in. Rios stiffened. "That's Alpha Team." Sable adjusted her scope. Her thermal overlay lit up with movement, dozens of heat signatures surrounding the SEALS. She keyed her mic. "Command, this is Ghost. I've got visual on enemy movement. Estimate 30 plus, closing from the north and east." "Hold fire," the reply came. "Visibility's too poor." "Wait for air support." She glanced at Rios. "Air support's 20 minutes out." He nodded grimly. "They won't last 5. Sable's gloved finger brushed the trigger guard. "Then we don't wait." Her first shot was a test, not for her accuracy, but for the air. The round cracked through the fog, traveling nearly 3 kilometers in 3.2 seconds before punching through an enemy machine gun nest she could barely see with the naked eye. "Impact," Rios confirmed. "Good hit." They're scattering. Through her scope, she could see the confusion ripple through the enemy ranks. The ambushers hadn't expected resistance from that distance. She chambered another round. Adjust 0.2 left for crosswind. Same elevation. Second shot. A spotter down. Third. The RPG gunner collapsed before he could aim. Each shot, a whisper of math and instinct perfectly aligned. The SEALs below regained ground, pushing through the smoke. But the enemy wasn't retreating yet. They were regrouping, adjusting for her angle. Rios frowned. "They've got spotters." They're trying to triangulate us. Sable didn't blink. They won't find us in time. Down in the fog, Lieutenant Harper's voice came through comms. Ragged, desperate. Whoever's hitting them, keep going. We're moving west, but they're closing fast. Sable rechecked her scope. Thermals showed a cluster of 6 fighters advancing from the southern ridge, too close to the SEALs. She whispered, range, 3,020 meters. Wind shift, 10 knots east. Rios looked at her, surprised. That's over max effective. You'll lose stabilization. Sable didn't answer. She closed her eyes for half a second. Her breathing slowed. 3,000 meters meant aiming into nothing, a fraction of sky and fog where a target would be by the time the bullet arrived. She remembered her father's words from Montana. You don't shoot at what you see, Sable. You shoot at what you know is coming. Her finger brushed the trigger. The Barrett roared like thunder. 3 seconds later, a distant spark flared through the fog. Then another body dropped. Rios whispered, almost reverent. Hit confirmed. 3,002 meters. The fight below shifted again. Without leadership, the insurgents began breaking formation. The SEALs seized the chance to move, covering each other as they fell back. But just as command radioed the all clear, a secondary explosion ripped through the valley. An IED chain hidden under the road. The blast swallowed the fog in a flash of light. Static filled the comms. Alpha Team, report! No response. Sable's stomach twisted. She scanned desperately. One by one, heat signatures flickered, faint but alive. 2 wounded, Rios said quietly. They're pinned near the rock wall. Sable reloaded, eyes steady. They got us this far. We're getting them out. She switched ammo, tungsten core penetrators, capable of punching through cover. Range 2,480, wind 6 west. The next minute was a masterclass in calm precision. 5 shots. 5 impacts. Each one clearing an escape corridor for the surviving SEALs. When the helicopter finally thundered overhead, Sable kept firing. Not to kill, but to confuse, to control, to make the enemy believe there were a dozen snipers on that ridge. By the time extraction completed, the battlefield had fallen eerily silent again. Hours later, back at Bagram Air Base, Lieutenant Harper limped into the debrief room, his uniform still scorched with dust. Who was Overwatch? He asked. When the commander replied, Chief Petty Officer Winters, Harper just nodded. Tell her she's not human. Sable smiled faintly when she heard that later, the kind of smile that didn't reach her eyes. Because she knew what it had really taken. Every calculation, every heartbeat, every second of fear she'd buried under focus. Rios would later submit the ballistic data. Documented range, 3,022 meters. One of the longest confirmed combat shots ever recorded by a Navy sniper. But for Sable, records meant nothing. What mattered was that 8 SEALs came home. Weeks later, during a quiet ceremony, she received the Silver Star. She stood at attention, expression unreadable, as her commander pinned the medal to her chest. Reporters asked afterward how she'd made that shot. She only said, I didn't make it. The wind did. I just listened long enough to understand it. Years later, when young recruits would ask about her story, her answer was always the same. Courage isn't pulling the trigger. It's staying calm enough to know when you should. And that's why, to this day, Sable Winters remains more than a legend. She's a reminder that sometimes the quietest soldiers make the loudest echoes. Sable Winters' story is proof that discipline and patience can save lives when courage alone isn't enough. If her story moved you, share it, and subscribe to Truth Untwists, where we bring to light the forgotten legends of those who chose precision over pride and duty over fear. Because in every shadowed valley of history, there's always one quiet professional, watching, calculating, and ready to make the impossible shot.